Hello and welcome to Divorce on Planet Earth, Kate Scharf's real-world advice for well-intentioned humans. I'm your co-host, Jane Prelinger.
I'm Kate Scharf.
Hello, Kate.
Hi there, Jane.
So, Kate, I'm pretty excited about this special episode, The Divorced Parents Pledge, 30 Things You Should Promise Your Kids. Kate, can you talk a little about how the pledge came to be?
Yeah, sure. So over the years that I've been working with individuals, couples, families, kids who have been going through separation and divorce, I've heard from lots and lots of kids about the things that their parents do and say that upset them. And a lot of them kind of come back and back. You know, I hear them a lot in various forms, but the themes just repeat. And so I made a list of many of those themes, and I tried to capture the idea in a way that a child would express it.
So, Kate, because the pledge is too long to discuss in one show segment, we've decided to break our discussion into 6 installments, and we'll discuss 5 clauses of the pledge in each installment.
Right, and I think our plan is for you to read each clause or section or article of the Constitution, starting with number 1, and then I'll just sort of riff on it for briefly, and then we'll move on to the next.
Good.
Okay.
So I will start with the Divorced Parents Pledge, clause number 1. When we tell you about the divorce, we won't try to spin it as a great adventure. There's nothing exciting about decorating your bedroom at mom's new place when you feel like your family is falling apart, no matter how big the budget or how hip the neighborhood. We'll reassure you that we're all going to be okay because we are, but we won't hide our tears while we do it.
Yeah, I think it's so natural that when you're breaking really bad news to your kids, you want to try to soften the blow by focusing on the positive. But it's not positive. Even if there are some ultimately positive aspects of your divorce, like you're going to be happier individuals and that's good for your kids, or there's going to be relief in the not fighting. The truth is, this is just kind of the worst thing that ever happened to your kid, at least in their experience. And for you to try to put lipstick on the pig is insulting to them.
Yeah.
So there will be time in the future where they may even experience some relief or some excitement. If you're moving into an apartment from a house, they may love to ride the elevator. They may get into the idea of, decorating a new room. But right now you really want to leave space for them to be whatever they are, sad, angry, scared, and address those feelings so that they can move into a kind of more ordinary space.
Really important.
Okay.
Really important. Now let me move to clause number 2 of the Divorced Parents Pledge. If you repeat something bad that your other parent said about us, we won't respond in kind. Nasty retorts like, I'm the reason your mother can't afford school uniforms. Maybe she should spend her child support on you children instead of trips to get her nails done. Those remarks only tighten the emotional vice.
Yeah, we did an episode a little while back about, how to respond if your child reports bad things that the ex said about you. And one of the things we said is it doesn't do any good to retaliate because that just makes your kid feel bad and puts them in the middle, even more. It doesn't even win you any points. So it's a whole lot better to kind of bite your tongue and say, well, I'm sorry that you had to hear that thing about me that your mom said that wasn't so nice or your dad said it wasn't so nice. It's painful to hear bad things about one parent from another because you love both of them. I don't know why they said that. I wish that they hadn't. But truth is, money is tighter than it used to be, but I do my best, and so does your mom, to make sure everybody gets all the things that they need and some of the things that they want.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's very well said. I'm going to move on to clause number 3. We won't expect better behavior from you than from ourselves. If we're having a screaming match in the kitchen, it would be ludicrous to ground you for forgetting to unload the dishwasher.
Kids hate hypocrisy. They abhor it. Nobody likes it, but kids really hate it because they ordinarily don't have a lot of power, right? So hypocrisy, it makes them feel even sort of trapped. Do you remember as a kid ever wishing you had a tape recorder when your mother was screaming at you? Because nobody believes a kid.
Yeah.
Right? So if you are behaving terribly, and in fact, you are actually doing this thing to them by getting divorced that is hardest on them. Like, you're not the one going back and forth. Yeah. So there's already a lot of hypocrisy involved here. If you're behaving really, really badly, it just isn't fair to focus on the minor infractions. I'm not saying you should stop having expectations of your kids. You should. Although I sort of think in the beginning, if you're going to err on the side of softness a little bit.
Yes.
Just remember, like, you're the grown up and you have an obligation to behave.
Yes,
behave yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Clause number 4. You're not a carrier pigeon, so we won't ask you to convey messages between us, or mail, or alimony checks, or anything else that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah, this one kind of, sometimes parents think I'm making too big of a deal about this. It's like, what's the big whoop, if I stick an envelope into my kid's backpack, right? But actually, it's hard enough that they have to carry their own stuff back and forth, and it's hard enough to track it. And if you give them, you could say, hey, tell your mother the check is in your backpack. Or, it's really bad if you ask them to remember, right?
Yes.
But if you sort of use them as a conveyor belt for information or stuff, then they feel like a conveyor belt. The transitions are hard already, and you want to make them as easy for your child as possible. If you kind of use them as a kind of convenient tool for shuttling, they feel like a tool for shuttling.
Yeah.
Rather than, moving from one house to another. And this stuff is just fraught. I don't care what it is. If it's junk mail, it's fraught because it represents the fact that you don't live together anymore, and you probably don't want to talk to each other, or just, for God's sake, go to the post office.
Yes.
So just don't do it.
Yeah. Really great point. Clause number 5. When you remind us of each other, we will not react with reflexive disgust. Comments like, ew, you look just like your mother in those sunglasses. Or, please, that laugh. It's like your father is in the room. Or, these comments are painful attacks on you.
Yeah, they really, really are. We talked in our last couple episodes about how kids are identified with both of their parents, and actually, even if they act like they're not happy about it, there's really nothing that makes them more happy or feel better than when somebody compares them favorably to one of their parents. Favorably, not unfavorably. And it's just super painful to, attack their other parent by attacking something about them. It's really a terrible, painful sort of way to behave, and it really does say to your child, there's something about you I don't like. And it also, the implication is also, don't be like your other parent, which is a pretty cruel thing to say. Yeah.
Okay, so in our next installment, we'll pick up with clause number 6. In the meantime, we know the pledge is by no means exhaustive. It's sort of a work in progress. So if listeners would like to write in with their own suggested clauses, we'd love to hear them.
Oh, definitely. Now, we usually end our show with our little spliticisms, our pearls of little, like, real world device wisdom. But for this series, I kind of want to end each installment in the same way by reminding our listeners of a really important point, which is all the ideas in this pledge are important. They're good ideas. So take it. Take your pledge and do your best to keep your promises to your kids. But as you and I often say on this show, this is tough stuff, and you are only human. So when you screw up, and you will, own it. If it makes sense, apologize to whoever it's relevant to apologize to, your child, your spouse, the best friend that you dissed your spouse in front of, whatever it is. And use the moment as a learning opportunity. Finally, give yourself a break. You get many, many, many more parenting points for the ongoing effort to keep your kids' needs front and center than you do for hitting the sweet spot in any given moment.
Thanks for listening to Divorce on Planet Earth, Kate Scharf's real-world advice for well-intentioned humans. We invite you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Divorce for Humans. That's Divorce, the number 4 Humans. And on YouTube at Divorce on Planet Earth. That way you'll know when we have a new blog post, video, or podcast. Speaking of blogs, you can read Kate's at divorceonplanetearth.com. And if you have a general divorce question or an idea for a show topic, please write to us at info@divorceonplanetearth.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we promise not to share your personal information, including real name and email address. Please remember that the ideas we share here can never fully address any one listener's specific situation, are not offered as therapy or divorce coaching, and are not intended as a substitute for clinical services. Divorce on Planet Earth is produced by Eric Pagero. Our music was composed by Ben Kaunitz. I'm your co-host, Jane Prelinger.
And I'm Kate Scharf.
We'll talk to you next time.